Hey guys, my name is Masud. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm very excited because I've been thinking about this topic for a few days now and I wanted to share my opinion. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about why it's harder to build wealth in property now compared to 20 years ago. So to start off with, property prices back in the 90s were a lot more reasonable and in correlation with wages. That meant that young people in the 90s and early 2000s were in a much better place to actually afford to buy a house and get on the housing ladder. No matter if you're an investor or someone who's just looking to buy their first residential home, it was a lot easier compared to what it is now. To paint a picture, the north of England is probably what it was in the 90s and the 2000s in London, and what London is now is basically unattainable. For young people especially, you can't actually get on the housing ladder on your own. You have to rely on probably some sort of family support from your parents or some sort of government scheme. The other way is really you basically just to rent. You can't actually own a house, a freehold house, because the wages compared to the property prices in London especially are not equal and not in a line. So even if buying as a couple, you're probably gonna sort of be able to afford the lower end of the properties, the freehold houses in London. Therefore, it doesn't present the same opportunity to actually build wealth. And the next thing that I wanted to sort of touch on from that is the legislation around actually investing in property has changed so much in comparison to what it was in the 2000s and the 90s. The government is actually a lot more strict now, and one particular example of this is property doesn't offer the same benefits. The mortgage interest that you could deduct tax that was tax deductible is not anymore. So since 2017, the government has implemented a new law which means that any mortgage interest that you're claiming as a tax deductible benefit relief on your accounts is not possible anymore, and you have to actually use that, and it's taxable. So basically what that means in layman's terms is basically your mortgage interest is counted in your revenue, and therefore that could basically mean that some people, investors, are pushed into higher tax brackets, and it means that they make less profit. So basically it's less profitable to be a standard property investor. So the only way around that is really to think differently. So it's a lot harder is what I'm trying to say. The government's making it a lot harder. They're a lot more left-wing now compared to what they were. Even though we're in a conservative-led government, I think that the agenda is really to fit people who are non-property investors. Therefore, to actually build wealth as a young person in property, you have to think differently. And in my opinion, the other way to actually build wealth and create and build your portfolio is to go up north and to look at these small sort of buy, refurbish, refinance, renting out deals. Even though they're quite hard to come by, you can still do them. And what I mean exactly by these, they're known as BRRR deals. They are basically where you're buying a house that's below market value, and you're refurbishing it, and then you're refinancing it, and then you're renting it out. So you're basically recycling your deposit and then putting it into the next deal. These kind of deals aren't possible in London. You kind of have to give a lot more upfront, and your cash is tied into that property. So it's an illiquid asset, as we know property is. But therefore that means that you can't actually continue that growth quickly. It will take you ages to build something significant, which is what a lot of people have done who grew up in the 90s and 2000s and invested in property. Well, another massive reason why people actually were able to do this and are more well off now, the 40-year-olds who are living in 2020 now and invested in property in the 90s, they could actually recycle their money a lot quicker than we can as young property investors. And the reason for that is back in those days, before the financial crisis in 2008, you could actually refinance your house on the same day of purchase. If you bought a below market value property and you actually told the bank that it's worth this much, you can refinance. The bank will give you the money for the actual value of the house, and therefore you can basically take your money and use it for the next deal. You can do that all in one day. So just imagine if you found a number of these below market value properties, how quickly you can build your portfolio compared to what we have now, where you have to wait 6 months, and there's not that many lenders that will give you that sort of refinance on your house. You kind of have to show them and prove to them and show them that you've added value to the house. You can't just say, I bought this house, this is how much it was worth, and this is actually how much it is truly worth. So I need a mortgage for the true amount, not what I purchased it for. Therefore, what I'm trying to say is it's a lot harder, and bank managers then basically were giving people 100%, 110% mortgages for their properties, and it meant that basically people didn't have to spend as much to grow their portfolio as quickly. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're a young property investor or somebody who's looking to build their wealth through property, just be vigilant and mindful that it's not exactly the same arena that it was back in the when the older property investors now grew up in. So that means that we have to think differently and outside of the box. For a young person who's starting off with nothing, as I say, those sort of small buy, refurbish, refinance, rent deals are probably something that I definitely look into. And if you're a developer, well then this moment in time probably presents the biggest opportunity for you as the high street goes into a massive change. The new planning laws that the government is bringing out, it's easing planning for developers, and the new permitted development rights basically allows you to convert commercial buildings much easier than what you could before. So the retail shops which are going out of business can all be converted into like residential use. There's a lot of opportunity, and I think if you're a developer, then this is your time to really benefit. But overall, in conclusion to this video, my point, I want to say that if you're a young person, you're trying to build your life, I think that you have to think very differently and look at alternative investments. So the traditional investments such as property and stocks are not really, I believe, they're not as easy to build wealth in. The opportunities lie in things like online businesses, cryptocurrency, social media, basically something that's internet based and digital based, where the scale of it is easily scalable, and you actually can market to a wide amount of people. The internet is basically the next opportunity, and I think that the next thing that's going to allow young people to build wealth is going to come through online. And that's my opinion. That's what I think generally, just because of what I've seen and what I've read and spoken to people. So if you're a young person, just keep your eye out for that. I hope you found value in this video and you found it insightful. Make sure you like this video, comment down your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.